We're just about to get started. We have a few people that are coming in from outside. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Corey Fisher. I'm a trustee of the foundation, and some of you may recognize me because prior to this, I was a staff for the KFA for about 10 years. So I'm here today to open us up on this final presentation of the annual gathering. And before I do that, I do want to just extend gratitude to Oak Grove for the panel they organized for us, and also for opening up the campus for this weekend. It's really, every time I'm here, it's like Karen mentioned, it's quite a special place, and for all of us to be able to gather here is really a special time. So thanks again to Oak Grove. And so today we're ending this gathering with a sort of an updated version of what we've typically done in the past, and we just want to take a moment and discuss sort of what the KFA is up to these days. The title of the presentation is Exposure, Engagement, and Exploration, and we're going to go into what that all means, and particularly in the context of the theme of this gathering. So the theme of the gathering was education and significance of life. And we've looked at this from various aspects of Krishnamurti's work, also what that means for education with regard to the school. And we're going to sort of look at what does that sort of inquiry mean for the foundation. And this is a kind of inquiry that's been embedded in the foundation and the school since the very beginning, and one that will continue to inform the choices that we make about what we do at the school and at the foundation. So many people are probably aware of the many different ways that Krishnamurti stated that the truth cannot be organized. So in that light, what does an organization do? What can an organization like the KFA do with regard to Krishnamurti's work? So we've put together this presentation because we've been thinking a lot specifically about this question and using it as a way to frame how it is that we think about the various activities of the foundation and what ways we can look at strengthening what we do in order to be the best version of the foundation that we think we can provide. So the KFA exists primarily to preserve and disseminate the work of Krishnamurti. And one of the key elements of that is that embedded in Krishnamurti's work, that no authority, method, or organization can produce the sort of inward movement to which his work points to. So where does that put us as an organization? You can see here the imperative is that we're sort of responsible stewards, that we preserve the work of Krishnamurti as he stated it, and ensure that the integrity of the teachings is upheld. And then alongside that, as I've mentioned, there's an implicit rejection of authority and interpretation embedded in Krishnamurti's work. And so we have to sort of work with these two and decide how it is that we are supposed to act. So we've organized our thinking along these three sort of primary ways that one can engage or one can work with Krishnamurti's work. So I'm going to go through each of these and then describe how each of them are a little bit different and what we may or may not be able to achieve with regard to each of these. So we're working with a definition of exposure as making Krishnamurti's work accessible. So this is to ensure that authentic Krishnamurti material is preserved and discoverable and actually encountered across all formats and contexts. So this sort of encompasses the work of the archive as well as publications, any sort of like digital accessibility across different platforms online. All of those different activities fall under this category. Engagement we defined as sort of observable participation with material that one has been exposed to. So reading further, attending retreats or dialogues, joining study groups, participating in programs, any outward observable activity that extends the contact that you've been exposed to. And then third is exploration. And so we use this word to encompass all of the sort of lived inward exploration that one goes through once they encounter Krishnamurti's work. So how does one live with what he's speaking to? So this is someone's inward relationship to the questions, observation, reflection, listening, and learning. So there's a distinction on this third category, and this is sort of something that the foundation wants to take very seriously, is that with regard to exposure and engagement, we're looking at determining the best way to measure how successful we are at fulfilling these roles. So how accessible is Krishnamurti's work to people that don't know who he is? How findable are his quotes, books, videos, audios, any information about him? How easy is it to access that material for people that are not necessarily familiar? Engagement, meaning what is it that we offer at the foundation with regard to programs, ways that you can come and participate, this program being a perfect example. What are the different programs and retreats and offerings where we can invite people that have been exposed to Krishnamurti's work to gather together and explore together? These two components of this sort of triad, we feel we have at least a sufficient capacity to look at what we're doing and find ways to measure how successful are the things that we're doing and what are the ways that we can make these things better. With regard to exploration, we feel that there's really no way, and it would be outside of the bounds of the responsibility of the foundation to try to implement any way of measuring how well is someone exploring the work of Krishnamurti. What is the integrity of someone's inward relationship to the work? So this is sort of, we're trying to craft where we see the boundary of our responsibility. The only other point I'll make there is that we're sort of working under the assumption that if we can be very sensitive and strengthen the ways that we make Krishnamurti's work available in this exposure category, and we strengthen the ways that one is able to engage with the work at the foundation, we may be able to support this third category, which is the sort of inward exploration. So though we're not directly responsible for anyone's exploration of the work, we can hopefully support that exploration in strengthening the ways that we can make the work accessible and invite people to engage with it. So this is essentially another breakdown of the kinds of things I was just discussing. So the work of the foundation is to preserve and archive and translate the direct work of Krishnamurti, to ensure that it's discoverable across platforms and contexts, create and maintain exposure pathways, and essentially just increase the ways in which someone can become exposed to his work if they're interested. And contrast to that, things that KFA cannot do is to claim authority over anyone's understanding of what Krishnamurti is pointing to, define or prescribe the right kind of inward engagement to Krishnamurti's work, and assess the seriousness or depth at which they're inquiring into the questions that Krishnamurti brings. So this sort of orientation to how we're thinking about these things is both a sort of a element of and a driver of or impetus for the transition and review that we're currently in. So the KFA is currently in a period of organizational transition, and we're really approaching this as an opportunity to review everything that the KFA is doing, and review how all of us that are involved in the work are participating in this work. So it includes the roles and responsibilities for those of us who hold stewardship of Krishnamurti's work, activities related to the archives, publications, and all other forms of dissemination, and activities at our centers, so the retreats, dialogues, in-person and online programs. So with that, I would like to invite those of us who are going to join here, and we're going to gather here and then open it up for questions. Thank you. So yeah, I thought it would be helpful maybe and more interesting if we just go down and everyone can introduce themselves here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ali Weber. I am the Operations Director.
Hi, I'm Tony. I'm a trustee.
I have one, thank you. Francisco Mazza, I'm the Executive Director.
My name is Maxi Kogoy. I am the Center Director.
And I'm Pathik Wadhwa, also one of the trustees.
Thank you, everyone. So yeah, we want to welcome anyone with questions. We will set up the mic in the middle of the aisle again, as usual. And in the meantime, maybe this can just be an opportunity to ask anyone up here if there's anything in light of this very short, brief presentation that we made, anything additional that any of you would like to share?
Well, maybe only to say that it's really work in progress in regards to how to approach what the foundation is doing and the center and the dissemination aspect, right? Because the mission of the KFA is preservation and dissemination. Preservation, I think, is easier maybe to conceptualize, but dissemination is where things get a little tricky. So there probably will be adjustments to the 3 E's. But I think it's just to say it's a framework and it's a work in progress, and it will evolve as everything. David?
Yeah, please.
Thank you for your. It's all right. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your overview, Corey. That was good. One thing I didn't hear was any mention, maybe I overlooked it, of the KFA's responsibility for the school and ensuring that the school is meeting its intent. I wonder if you could make some comment about that.
Definitely, it's something that in this new era, let's say, of with a new team, one of the major aspects that we are reviewing is that collaboration with Oak Grove School. We want to sit down, and we have started doing this, and actually there is a working group that maybe some of the board members could say a little more already happening with the board of the KFA and the board of Oak Grove School in order to feel like we are aligning in certain aspects in regards to everything, really. I mean, in logistics and also philosophically and everything else. So what I can say is that intention is there, and we have make some movements towards that path. But there's always been collaboration. But these are the moments when you are in a transition where you can actually go deeper into all these different also assumptions that we have about how the school should function and the foundation and the center, and what does it mean to actually work together towards the same mission. But I don't know if some of the trustees want to say about the
Yeah,
working
I could
group.
say, so yeah, as we heard, excuse me, as we heard from Oak Grove here, it's obvious that the school here is a huge part of everything that we're doing. And as Francisco was mentioning, we have established working groups between the KFA board and the Oak Grove board to sort of open up a continued dialogue and have a space where we can share about what is working, what is not working, and continue in developing a relationship and an open communication. And I know that the staff as well are finding ways to establish new ways of collaborating together. So there's a continual growth of the communication between the school and the foundation.
And there's always been connections that it could be strengthened and more practical things that could work. It would work better if we work together. But there is also the reality of the distance that the KFA is at the east end and the school is here, which Brookwood is different. You have everything on the same campus. But with that in mind, we things that we have done in the past together, like appeals. There is a collaboration there. We can see it, how much more it can be done, but it requires, apart from communication, it requires also a plan that can be put in practice, because there is a physical separation and organizational separation that it's not the same. It's not exactly the same. So it requires that plan.
If I could just add briefly, I understand there's a separation, but isn't it the case that the KFA is fundamentally responsible for the school, or is that not the case anymore?
Good, David. That's exactly what I was going to point out. So, if you see that there's some sort of omission here, that's not the case, and you may or may not know structurally how things are set up. So, we have a foundation that's responsible for everything under the umbrella, and that most certainly includes the school. Some years ago, we set up a governance structure where we formed 2 LLCs under the foundation, and one LLC called the Oak Grove School LLC, is the entity that will take care of the school, will deal with the school, be primarily responsible for the operations of the school. To run that LLC, the KFA board appointed a board who was willing and a very able board to take on that responsibility of overseeing the school. So the KFA trust has a direct oversight over the activities that Corey described. It does not exercise direct oversight. It is responsible for, but it does not exercise direct oversight of the school and its activities. The Oak Grove School Board does that under this structure. So I hope, at least structurally, that's a little more clear. Yeah. Thanks.
So there's a question from some of our online audience. Where do you draw the line between making the teachings accessible and oversimplifying them?
Yes, that's an ongoing discussion. I feel that this dissemination framework that you presented, at least it gives this vision where you can see that in regards to the first E, the exploration, what was the first E? I forgot. The exposure of the teachings that requires this discoverability to make the teachings available. There, I think based on for example, in regards to social media, that would be maybe a good example of that discoverability. We try to have the context in mind of everything that we do and we put out there, so people can quickly go back to the source of where, which is, in this case, it will be a whole transcript, like that, a whole series of public talks. But on social media, you just see only a quote. But in there, we are embedding as much as possible a way to put that quote in context and then link to the whole section of where that quote came from. So it's different platforms and different projects that the foundation is part of. It has its limitations based on the platform itself. So what we try is just to be able to, for anybody to be able to get to the material in full, let's say. And there are websites for that, right? Like jkrishnamurti.org or the YouTube channel that we manage with the foundation in England. Everything is there. 99% of the material is available for everybody for free, unedited, with all the different translations. So that's been our approach. There is a physical limitation of some of the platforms that we use.
Yeah, please.
Hi. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, everybody. This is one of my favorite things to come every year, and I really appreciate everybody putting the effort into having this gathering. My question is about the advent of AI and technology. It's coming everywhere. I work in the technology space, and then I sideline as a nervous system regulator, and I teach everything from breathwork to yoga. And it seems like the teachings of Krishnamurti are probably more important now, almost than ever, to help people to understand themselves with this sort of overwhelming, advent of all this technology that's coming at them. I know that there was talk in the last few years about the Krishnamurti chatbot, whether that was officially sanctioned or something people are doing on the side. And then the immeasurable, I think, has been a really important step to trying to bring in younger audiences to Krishnamurti. Is there any other initiatives that are going on, either to do with technology or with marketing, Krishnamurti's teachings in different ways to bring in new people to the three E's.
I don't know if anybody else wants to say something.
Okay, I'll just answer a very specific question. So no, the KFA, and to the best of my knowledge, none of the Krishnamurti foundations have sponsored or endorsed any kind of chatbots. So we are aware of them, but those are things that people have done. They're not foundation-sponsored activities. And in terms of AI, we do have an initiative that we are going to be undertaking, and it's much simpler, no chatbot or any, but we're going to put all the material in a database and then use AI capabilities for people to use that as a search engine. So to just have a search engine where one can say, well, what did he say about such and such between such and such period in Europe or in USA? You can frame the question any way you like. So it'll be just a good quality search engine. That's the extent to which we as a foundation have agreed thus far. And so I just want to say where we stand thus far on that.
Yeah, I think one of the issues with AI is to be able to have clear boundaries of where do you want the system to operate. So as Patik was saying, if we are able to isolate it so it doesn't, let's say if you ask a question, you use it as a search engine and you ask a question, it happens more often than not that it kind of brings other content that is not even what you fed to the LLM system. So that is something that we are very aware that we don't want to do in any way. And of course, it's the extra issue, which is more extreme, of hallucination, that they actually come out. It's not that they are drawing information from another source. It's coming up with something that is completely irrelevant, or it's just an invention. So all those things have to be in place for us to feel that we can make something public that uses an LLM system.
Thank you. This is my first time coming to this event. Definitely, in terms of dissemination, I think you've been fantastically successful, I see. And also it looks like online a lot of people are also engaged in this activity. So thank you for doing this. Part of the reason is I'm from Boston, so that's not easy to come here all the time, right? So the other, I had a related question. You asked most of the question with respect to the advent of AI, right? So I know the concern of contamination of this, the message or the teachings, right, with the rest of what is happening in the world. But is this something technological, is instead of, say, a large language model, some kind of small language model or more specific models you guys are thinking about doing so that you're more, in control of how the message is? Instead of, search engines do only to some extent, right? But if you're asking questions, that's not job of this search engine. It's more like a model, right? So I was wondering about that also, if you guys are thinking about any like small language model.
Yeah, small language models. Let me think about. Yeah, I wouldn't know how to frame it to answer that questions. That question. I can say, and maybe I'm reiterating the same, that in regards to using AI as a search engine, we are comfortable. Maybe one of the next steps would be, and this is truly a question, is we haven't applied it yet, is can it be useful to, let's say, synthesize or summarize a certain, public talk or finding patterns among public talks? But what's going to present to the public is a big question, because it could, as I said before, if the issue of contamination it's important, and if it's a synthesis, is that an interpretation? So that's another question that we can.
In your opening talk, you mentioned like how AIs, business models are being utilized to learn and teach, us, we don't read the whole publication, right? Just copy one of these things and surprise it for me. Or ask specific questions. I want to find this information. Instead of reading those 5-8 pages, I can go for specific information. So that's very enabling, right? So I think that can be, still be worth considering. Comprehensions are
Right.
there, but I think there are also these models are getting
Right. Yeah.
accurate information.
Yeah. So yeah, another application that could be maybe more scholarly for research is if you think about the content of the teachings and the way that Krishnamurti used specific words. Words like anxiety is not something that you will find in his teachings, but he will talk about fear, right? So could AI help find patterns of language where if you point at, okay, I would like to see what Krishnamurti says in regards to anxiety, it's not going to find a one-to-one, but it will be able to recognize some linguistic patterns and will say, I think he's talking about that in this section. So that could be maybe something. But again, to make that public is that's a different step.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to that. Separate from the question of summarizing Krishnamurti, it's a bigger question that you're asking as to whether one can just feed some material such as a paper and then say, give me a summary, give me such and such points. And as you pointed out, that's obviously a very useful tool for that, and it does the work. A different question which all of us, at least in universities, are facing is the use of these things by students or by us others who also engaged in studying. Yes, the information comes out, and let's say there are procedures to ensure that it's accurate. But is the use of those then depriving us of something else that may have a role in the understanding, the pulling together? Because if I subcontract out my wish to synthesize and pull together, because it takes me a lot of time, I have to read 5 papers, I have to, it takes a... Does that process of engaging help come to a different understanding than what's just provided in a second, because this thing does it and gives it to me? So that's a very serious question that's not just relevant to Krishnamurti, but much, much bigger. We, as far as I know, don't have a position on that, but we want to be very careful in thinking through that, because is the engagement and exploration of Krishnamurti's work related in part to reading, studying, thinking about it, holding things, and might that be influenced? We don't know, but might that be influenced if there was a tool that immediately gives you an answer? So I just appreciate the question and say we are, yeah.
I'd like to add a little point to what Pratik just said, because to reframe it a little bit in terms of the exploration in the model that we've just set up with the exposure, engagement, exploration. I think one of the challenges is that potentially some of these LML models might take away from that inner movement of exploration that we're actually trying to bring about with the exposure and the engagement. So as you were mentioning, if you can get a quick summary of any length of text from an LML, that will actually, in a sense, potentially prevent you from going through that inner movement of engaging with the material, where you make it your own in a very different way.
I agree that is a risk, but also that can be a more to larger engagement, right? Getting a summary, getting the taste.
Yeah. We have time for one
Yeah,
more
maybe
question.
we need to continue. Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to clarify, I heard about the LLM model, the question came from this stage like last year, so I'm not asking for it. I was asking what
Right.
the update was on it. But I wanted to hear what youth outreach. I wanted to see if I could get that, what is being done for outreach to youth besides the immeasurable, or if anything.
Yeah. What do you mean by outreach? Do you mean also? Can you say a little bit more?
Sure. How is the Krishnamurti Foundation bringing in younger audiences
Right.
outside? I know the immeasurable is one example. Are there any other examples? It could
Yeah.
be no.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
curious.
Yeah, so a few ways. One is the obvious one, social media. It's it's pervasive. It's everywhere, and we have created our accounts and we curate the content, and you can see that from there. You can see the trajectory from a post. As I said, they end up interested maybe in a program at the center, or interested in reading the full transcript. You can see the jumping from the Immeasurable website to the jkrishnamurti.org website, or something that contains more information than the quote. The Residential Scholar program is a good example. We invite young people to come to the center and stay for at least 3 months. It's a very unstructured program on purpose. It's not that there is any lectures that they have to attend or any method, because that would not be a Krishnamurti place. But there are different programs that we have put together for the general public, online and in person, that are based on particular themes that Krishnamurti touched upon, on love, on fear, on loneliness, and they participate on these programs. And they also participate with the staff. We have lunch together once per week, and there is the energy of being there at the center. They volunteer at the center, putting breakfast out, so they engage with the guests. And that program is mainly geared for young people. But overall, that's one of our major goals, to grow that engagement with the new generation. So they're always thinking about different ways of doing that, maintaining, again, the integrity of the teachings, and not trying to put anything out of context, which these days is very easy to go there, because the attention span, everything has been designed these days as with that short attention span, right? Like things that work are, like 30-second videos. So how to structure something that it still captures, if we're going to put a 30-second video that captures something important, and then when you click, you get more, it's been one of our challenges in regards to a young audience.
Thank you, Francisco. And this, I believe, will now conclude our gathering. I want to thank everyone.
Wait.
Yeah.
Ulrich is coming.
We have one more question.
Slowly
Okay,
approaching.
yeah.
It's always a challenging question from Ulrich.
Not so sure.
Okay.
It's a local question. What are you planning to inform local people? Because as you know, Krishnamurti had a huge influence on Ojai. But, and I must tell you honestly, I spoke with a lot of people in Ojai. Some people said, I don't know what's happening in Ojai about Krishnamurti. I didn't know about the gathering. Krishnamurti is dead. Nothing is happening. We don't even know what's going on. Mm-hmm. I checked in the Ojai Valley News today. Sorry to say, the gathering has not been announced. So are you have any plans to inform the local people? Because there are a lot of people who have been here when Krishnamurti was alive, and they're gone. And there are new people who are coming, a lot of people on the weekend, as you know. How do you attract these people? In comparison, everybody knows about Meditation Mount. I'm not saying that's ideal, but they're doing incredible marketing, in town, everywhere, So Krishnamurti, I think, when people come to Ojai, I think there should be a mean to inform them about Krishnamurti's work here, because it's so important. They all know it's kind of a spiritual place, but they don't know anything about Krishnamurti. Sorry to put it bluntly, but I think it would be helpful to attract these people. And there are a lot of young people who come on the weekend to LA, a lot of young people. Anyway, the question is, are you planning to reach the community and the visitors to the teachings?
It has definitely been discussed, and we need to come up with the methods, really, of how to do it properly. There is a, on the other side of the coin, regarding to something similar to what you are saying, we do receive a lot of people coming from LA that know of Krishnamurti at the retreat, but through articles that have come out recently in the last year, like from the Los Angeles Times, and where mentions Ojai and mentions the 5 top spiritual places, and somehow we are there, and that's it's a strange place to be in, because some of these people just come almost as spiritual tourism. So we have to have also, how to apply this, let's say, local community approach in a way that, brings people that at least have the curiosity to explore the teachings, and it's not because they are passing by or, there's, right, for entertainment maybe, yeah. So, but point taken, Ulrich. Yeah, it's important.
May I ask one question? Will you continue to have the May gatherings on the first week of May?
Yeah, why not? We are not thinking of changing that, but funnily enough, we consider this gathering, I don't know if you noticed, is not called the May gathering. It's the first time that we're calling it the KFA annual gathering, in order to have that possibility, actually, if there was a need to change it, that we don't have to, it doesn't have to be in May. But that's as far as we have gone with the thinking.
Can I add a note?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think we can say enough about the fact that we're in a transition. This organization is in a transition. It was mentioned briefly, but do you know that Francisco has just been sitting in the executive director seat since January? And our 2 new directors just started. Ali 2 weeks ago, Maxie 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that. When we tell you that we're in transition, it means that we're considering everything we do in a way that has not been done before. We're comparing it, we're looking at it, and looking at it from the perspective of how does this thing that we're looking at support the intention of this place. It's not easy to do, and we want you to be patient with us. We don't know. We can't say, well, we have the May gathering again. I don't know. I may be scaring people, and I don't mean to. But look, every organization, to be robust and healthy and impactful, needs to evaluate what they're doing. And so we gave that little line, like, we're in transition. Yes, we're in transition. And we're looking at things in different ways than we've looked at them before, and trying to understand what should we be doing and what shouldn't we be doing. And with the resources that we have, how can we be the best we can possibly be?
Maybe another note to that note. That, yes, when a change like this happens, when an executive director leaves after many years, I think it's very important, as Tony mentioned, to look at everything and then see what's really aligned with the vision and mission of what we need to do. Because things get put in motion, and the world is also changing so rapidly. Things, that were good to do 3 years ago or 5 years, now is different. So that's also the process that we are in. It's a gift, I think. At the beginning, it's like, oh my God, we have to review everything. But really, yeah, I think it's a gift at the end of the day. Thank you. There's always one more. Okay, this is maybe, let's say, Murthy. Last one, please. Yeah, come.
Most of the authors go and have a book tour like that. I heard, people are going to go to different cities and then talk about Krishnamurti. I mean, that's my word of saying it, okay? It never materialized. Was there anything that you are going to do it? Because a lot of young people don't know, as somebody said, about Krishnamurti. But whereas some other people, I won't say religions, they do propagate for whatever reason it is, okay? What are we going to do, or what are you going to do in that respect? That's one thing. Another thing is, this simile I'm bringing it, famous singer Taylor Swift?
Who?
Yeah, everybody knows, okay?
Yes, I know her.
She, it's not important to know, but what she did is, she registered her voice so that nobody can imitate that. With the AI-generated world, I was thinking, somebody can imitate Krishnamurti's voice, can do good, also could do bad. So what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone again for coming. I don't know, maybe you were here yesterday, the whole weekend, even today, but we really appreciate it. I know that it's been really amazing, wonderful speakers, and so thank you again for coming, and thanks to Oak Cliff School, thank you all. And thank you also to all of our friends online that have been watching. It's great to also have you with us. And that's it.
Yeah, bye-bye.